And hello, I'm Ian from LiveOne.tv in Astoria, and I'm here with the attorney from Astoria also, George Bassias. Hello, George.
Hello, Ian. I'm very glad to be here.
I'm glad you are too. So we're going to talk about Astoria and things that are happening. George, I have been looking on Facebook groups and seeing one report after another of people having their packages stolen and a lot of increase in theft in Astoria.
Yes, I've actually had a couple of cases where people came to me where they mailed a check out and somebody else deposited the check. That seems to be becoming a problem not only in Astoria, all over the country.
And so what happens when you send a check out, for example, to a contractor or someone who's done some work for you, someone intercepts that check and they go cash it?
I'll tell you about a particular case that I had. One of my clients made a check out to the receiver of taxes and somebody stole that check and deposited it. Her bank was Chase Bank, and they deposited it in a Bank of America account, and they wrote receiver of taxes. They signed their name, receiver of taxes, and their name underneath it, and it got deposited into Bank of America. And before coming to me for about 5 or 6 months, my client went back and forth with Chase Bank. Chase basically sent 2 letters saying, we're not responsible. That's when I became involved. Although Uniform Commercial Code is not my specialty, I remember the classes from law school where basically deposits of checks are governed by Article 3 and Article 4 of the Uniform Commercial Code. And where there's a fraudulent check like that, the bank has the responsibility to make sure that when they're clearing it in their clearinghouse, it's going where it's supposed to be going. And this was an obvious case where they could have seen receiver of taxes. This individual in Bank of America was not the city tax department. So they should have rejected that check or held it and asked more questions.
Yeah. Wow. And what happened with that particular case?
Well, what I advised my client to do initially is, I think you have 1 year under the Uniform Commercial Code to make a complaint, but you have a certain amount of responsibility as the check holder, as the person that owns the bank account, to act promptly, because the bank could claim, hey, you took too long to look into this. We could have went after this person. Now it's too late. So your own negligence could cost you that money. In this particular case, they had paid almost $6,000. I told them, make a police report. They made the police report. And I wrote a letter to the bank, and I basically said, I disagree with your analysis of the situation under the Uniform Commercial Code. My client was not negligent at all. They wrote a check to the receiver of taxes. You allowed it to be cashed by Bank of America. You should be responsible. So I'm just letting you know that within 10 days, I'll be filing a lawsuit against you. And if in the discovery, it's found out that you're doing this to other clients, I may actually convert this case into a class action.
Right.
Within 3 days, the bank deposited the money back into my client's account.
That is sweet. And had it gone to a class action, that might have been interesting too.
Well, I don't have a lot of experience with class actions. I used to have a partner that was into class actions, and I did get involved in a couple of them. He took care of all the paperwork. But if I had gotten to the point where I did file a lawsuit, I would have asked for that discovery. And if the judge would have given it to me, I may actually have made it into a class action.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to ask you about cases that you take on for people in Astoria who should reach out to you. And also, I want to ask you about the time you've had your practice in Astoria and about things that you like about the neighborhood. First off, what kind of clients can reach out to you with particular cases?
Okay, so I've been practicing law in Astoria for about 30 years. I actually live in Long Island, but I love Astoria. We got the best restaurants here, and the grocery stores here are cheaper than the grocery stores in Long Island. And the great thing about the grocery stores here, the international sections are really international sections. You can get food from all over the world. Mm-hmm. My practice right now, as I get younger, I limited my practice. I've done just about every case you can think of, every type of case that you think of. But as I get younger, I limit my practice to personal injury, workers' compensation, bankruptcy, and consumer debt.
Mhm.
A typical thing that I find with a lot of people in Astoria is these SBA loans. A lot of taxi drivers have taken SBA loans.
SBA is a small business
Yes.
administration loan.
Yes, they got these COVID EIDL loans where the government gave them money to enhance their business. And now business has not gotten better. Things have changed after COVID. We're in an inflationary period and things have not turned around. Even for bankruptcy lawyers, I used to do 5 bankruptcies a month. I'm lucky if I do 2 a month. And I know a lot of bankruptcy lawyers that did exclusively bankruptcy work in Astoria that have gotten out of bankruptcy. It's just not picking up since COVID. Things have not picked up. But specifically for these taxi drivers, they look to get out of these SBA loans. And I will tell you that, yes, you can discharge them in bankruptcy court. If you file a bankruptcy, if you don't have assets that would prevent you from filing a Chapter 7, you can file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy and discharge the loan. If you don't file bankruptcy, if the SBA loan was specifically to your company, you can close the company. There's no personal liability if the loan was $150,000 or less, and you won't be personally liable. But if you did take the loan as an individual and you don't file bankruptcy, the SBA can attach your Social Security check. So you'll see the government taking their payment out of your Social Security check.
That would be annoying.
Yes.
Yeah, I have heard of the government interfering more and more and doing that kind of thing and reaching somebody's bank.
Yes.
And talk about overreach on the government.
Yes.
Huh. Well, I guess our own local government with Mayor Adams is technically bankrupt, I think, but they're still able to run the city somehow.
I think most counties in the United States are technically bankrupt at this point in time.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of mismanagement. Maybe, I don't know, I'm not an economist. Maybe the pension plans are too high and everybody's feeding on the system and there's not enough income coming in and too much mismanagement. And, that's the state that we're in today. Plus, we're also taking care of every country in the world with all these donations.
Yeah. And so that means that people, even over parking tickets or their property taxes or other types of things, that the government now has increased their enforcement agents to go after these, every little penny they can, every little highway traffic ticket someone gets or parking violations, that there's a new intensity of the city to collect on every penny they can.
Yes, these speed cameras are very tricky because they're hard to beat. You basically can't beat them. Speed, passing like the cameras. In the past, I know in Nassau County, you can plea bargain everything. You're better off getting pulled over by a cop for a speeding or passing a light. If you have a clean record, you'll reduce it to something, or sometimes even get it dismissed on a technicality. But with these speed cameras, you really can't beat them. Even in New York City. In New York City, if you get a speeding ticket or you pass a light, you can have a hearing. You go to trial, you can challenge it at the hearing. But these cameras, you really, it's almost impossible to beat them.
And they're popping up everywhere.
Yeah.
We're going to take just a brief little pause and we'll be right back talking with Astoria's the attorney, George Bassias.
Tropical Plants NYC, the best place to buy your tropical plants and get your tropical plants for special events. Tropical Plants delivers throughout Manhattan and the boroughs. Tropical Plants NYC, located in Astoria, Queens, and we deliver throughout Manhattan and all the boroughs. Inquiries? Info, nycplantrental.com.
Okay, we are back. Now, George, I know you're an animal lover, and I even saw some photos of some of your dogs. Tell me what's going on with your dogs, and did you find an owner? I know there were people right here in Astoria. I did post one of George's beautiful dogs on Facebook on Astoria Centric. And what happened with that particular dog?
I am an animal lover. You're right. Some people think that I can talk to animals. I actually, if you Google Greek Orthodox squirrel, you'll see a situation that I have on YouTube. I actually went to church one morning and the squirrel came through the crowd and climbed up on my shoulder and wouldn't leave my shoulder. And they were calling me at church, they were calling me the squirrel whisperer. And I say on the video, he wants to receive communion. The other day I saw an attractive dog and I asked, the people if I could pet him, and they said, well, he doesn't like people, he might bite you. But the dog came up to me, jumped up on me, and I pet him. I have a German Shepherd.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter, without asking us, had adopted a mix Dachshund and Golden Retriever. My wife insisted I give him away. I found a family for him. Nice girl in St. Albans, Queens, and she sends me videos every now and then. I've invited her over my house for a barbecue. In the meantime, my other daughter brought one of her dogs that's a lab retriever. He was completely untrained. He would jump up on the counters. He didn't know how to sit. I taught him how to sit. We're talking, in the span of 2 months. Sit, give his paw, lie down, stay, come, go, no, doesn't jump on the counters anymore.
Yeah.
And when she gave him to me, he would pee and poop inside the house. Now, 2 months, he hasn't peed and pooped inside the house. If he's got to go, he lets me know. He barks. He goes to the door and he barks, and I let him out.
Wow.
And I let him out without a leash. He goes out. I don't have a fence in my yard. He goes out, never runs away.
Beautiful,
So,
beautiful story.
Yeah.
And I know when you had that dog and were looking for an owner, I was taken aback how conscientious you were to make sure that it was you introduced the potential owners of the dog to the dog before just giving it away.
Yes, and I let them know that if they have a problem, they can always bring him back.
Wow.
Now, if my wife was an animal lover, I would have kept them. I would have several dogs. It's a good thing she's not an animal lover, because I would have several dogs.
Yeah. Okay. Tell us a little bit. You've had your practice in Astoria for so many years. What do you think about the changes you've seen? What are some favorite places and things about Astoria?
Well, Astoria, unfortunately, I come here mostly to work, so it's a tough commute. Even though I live 20 miles away, it takes me an hour and a half to get here, an hour and a half to get home. So at the end of the day, I'm anxious to get home. But Astoria has the best restaurants, best prices. I mean, the Greek restaurants are fantastic, but the Italian restaurants are just as good. The pizza is unbelievable here. The Thai restaurants are great. The Chinese restaurants are great. All the restaurants, I mean, every place has its unique food, and at a price that you're not going to get in Long Island and you're not going to get in Manhattan. And Manhattan is so easily accessible. A lot of people don't know. If you're going to go see a Broadway show, don't drive into Manhattan. Park your car in Astoria and take the N train. You'll be there in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
10 minutes from Broadway. 10 minutes from Broadway in Astoria to be at Broadway in Manhattan.
It is such a great location.
And free parking.
Yeah.
You can get a free parking spot.
Right.
Worst case scenario, you park in the municipal parking. Go see your show and come back. But there's no place. I wish when I started my law practice, I had invested in real estate in Astoria. If I had a place in Astoria, now the rents are too high, and the price of the houses are too high. But it's a great place.
George, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.